alongside crude oil, and 106.67 TCF of non-associated gas coming from dedicated gas fields. Domestic gas is, without a doubt, an absolute game-changer. It acts as this massive development lever for power generation for huge industrial users like fertilizer and petrochemical plants, and, let's be real, for your own career trajectory.
Now, you might be wondering, why does understanding this scale even matter? Well, because this sector is what stabilizes the entire Nigerian economy. It drives national revenue and foreign exchange, which obviously trickles down to national and state budgets. It creates direct operations jobs, sure, but it also supports this whole army of contractors, logistics firms, and vendors. And thanks to local content policies, opportunities are rapidly expanding for Nigerian engineers and fabricators. Plus, the technology spills right over into other sectors. So, when this industry runs smoothly, the whole country feels it. That is exactly why your individual professionalism matters so much. You're not just hitting corporate KPIs, you are actively protecting national value.
We actually see this playing out right now in the 2025 snapshot. Even with all the market volatility, there are clear signs of recovery. We're looking at crude and condensate production hitting up to 1.8 million barrels per day. Gas output has really strengthened too, reaching 7.59 billion standard cubic feet per day alongside a 7.16% flare rate. For you, the fresh graduate, I don't want you to just see these as dry economic metrics. These are essentially neon signs pointing straight to real, immediate opportunities, whether that's in operations, LNG processing, engineering projects, or, very specifically, emissions reduction.
Moving right along to Section 2, the high-scale reality. Competence is the price of entry. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is how it shifts us from that big-picture macroeconomy straight down to your daily reality. And let me be perfectly clear about this. Oil and gas is absolutely not a trial-and-error environment. You can't just guess your way through a shift. You are dealing with incredibly high pressures, highly hazardous materials, insanely complex equipment, and uncompromisingly strict operating limits. This environment doesn't leave room for guessing. It demands immediate competence. Because here, guessing wrong doesn't just cost money, it costs lives, and it causes massive environmental damage.
So what exactly are the core competencies, the hard and soft weapons you need to acquire? First up, rock-solid technical fundamentals. You've got to know how to crunch the numbers correctly and apply strict industry codes. Second, digital and data tools. You have to leverage these to drive reliability. Third, people skills. You're going to be working in incredibly diverse, high-pressure situations with operators and contractors, so respectful communication is everything. And finally, documentation. Your reports need to be clear, auditable, and completely trustworthy. Now, the good news, the industry doesn't expect you to know it all on day one. They're going to develop you through supervised work and training, but you absolutely have to bring these baselines to the table.
All right, on to Section 3, Safety and Operational Discipline. Building long-term professional reliability.
I want to take a second and completely reframe safety for you. It's not just some boring corporate compliance rule, and it's definitely not just a poster on the break room wall. The crucial point here is understanding exactly what operational discipline actually means in practice. It's the strict adherence to the routine. We're talking perfect shift handovers, keeping flawless logs, following isolation rules and barrier management down to the letter every single time, and actually applying the lessons learned from near misses. Doing those seemingly mundane routine tasks perfectly, day in and day out, is what reduces losses. It's what keeps you, your team, and the environment safe. It is literally the ultimate hallmark of a true professional.
And that brings us to Section 4, Positioning for Your Impact, Becoming Part of the Solution.
Okay, so getting a job is just step one, but you need to look way beyond that to actively solving the industry's legacy issues. Here is a highly actionable, super practical checklist that you can start implementing on day one. Step 1. Build strong technical fundamentals. You need to know your engineering and operational basics cold. Step 2. Master permit discipline and awareness. Basically, always conduct your risk assessments. And step 3, escalate compliance issues early. You need to know when formal reporting matters, and seriously, never try to hide a problem. If you do these 3 things, you are going to instantly set yourself apart as an incredibly reliable asset.
Because frankly, they really need your help. It's not, and this doesn't shy away from the ongoing challenges.
You're stepping into an environment that is currently grappling with environmental impacts in producing communities, pretty significant pipeline integrity and security risks, really complex governance and transparency demands, and of course, the broader push for long-term sustainability. The industry is desperately looking for fresh minds, your minds, to bring new perspectives to tackling emissions, reducing spills, and improving community respect without getting tangled up in the politics.
And I think this brilliant quote from the text perfectly captures the exact mindset you need. The right response is not to avoid the conversation, it is to be part of the solution. I absolutely love that. This right here is your ultimate call to adventure. You are being called to operate safely, to reduce emissions, to upgrade maintenance, and to help build up energy systems, especially domestic gas, that directly support Nigeria's development.
So as we wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with one final provocative thought. If you were to join an oil and gas team tomorrow, what will you build intentionally in your next 90 days? Seriously, think about it. Which skills are your absolute strongest right now, and which ones do you need to start mastering immediately? Don't wait around. Start mapping out your strategy today, embrace those high standards, and get ready to fuel the future. Thank you so much for joining me, and I honestly can't wait to see the impact you're going to make.
Welcome to the quiz section, Fastest Finger Edition. Fastest Finger Edition.
Let's jump right into this explainer and map out exactly how you, as a recent or soon-to-be Nigerian graduate, can successfully launch your career in the oil and gas industry. Look, if you're eyeing the energy sector and feeling, well, a little overwhelmed by where to start, or if you're wondering if your specific degree even fits into the picture, you are absolutely in the right place. We're going to break down this entire landscape step by step. First off, we need to bust a massive myth. A lot of folks just assume oil and gas is strictly a playground for petroleum engineers. Absolutely not true. In reality, every major asset out there, whether we're talking about a field, a pipeline, or a massive refinery, literally runs like a small city. I mean, some of these offshore rigs even have their own mini hospitals and cinemas. It takes a hugely diverse talent pool to keep these giant operations ticking, which means there are realistic entry points for almost every discipline out there. So, here's our roadmap for today's explainer. We'll start by decoding the value chain, then figure out how to find your perfect role, move into leveraging your specific degree, and finally wrap up with exactly how to gain that crucial entry-level experience.
All right, let's kick things off with part 1, decoding the value chain.
The whole chain begins with upstream. Think of this as exploration and production. It's the incredibly complex, honestly thrilling process of actually finding the resource, drilling the wells, and extracting it safely and economically. So, for example, a geoscience grad might start right here, working in subsurface support for an onshore asset down in the Niger Delta, basically interpreting seismic data to pinpoint exactly where the oil is hiding. Next up is midstream. Picture this as the vital logistical bridge, because once that resource is out of the ground, well, it has to go somewhere, right? Midstream handles the gathering, processing, storing, and transporting of those resources through massive pipeline networks, terminals, shipping routes, and LNG facilities. Here, a mechanical engineering grad could easily step in, maybe working on rotating equipment reliability at a major gas processing facility. And finally, we have downstream. This is where the crude is actually refined into the everyday products we all rely on. It's the end of the chain that touches our daily lives the most. Literally everything from the petrol in your car to the cooking gas in your kitchen. Honestly, getting a firm grip on these 3 distinct areas, upstream, midstream, and downstream, is your absolute first step in figuring out exactly where you belong. Moving right along to part 2, finding your perfect role. Now, you might be totally surprised by the sheer variety of roles actually available out there. Yes, of course they need drillers. But look, these facilities desperately need data analysts and cybersecurity experts to manage things like digital twins and automation. They need sharp commercial negotiators for supply chains, corporate specialists to handle ESG reporting, and HSE officers to lock down health and safety. A finance grad, just as an example, could easily drop into a joint venture commercial team to run project economics. It's really a huge ecosystem.
And what is really fascinating about the Nigerian market today is that the ongoing expansions in domestic refining, plus these massive gas infrastructure projects like LNG Train 7, are just multiplying these opportunities. It really proves that natural gas is this incredibly durable, massive career path right alongside traditional crude. You're looking at open doors across indigenous E&P companies, international operators, refineries, and an absolutely huge services market that includes fabrication yards and marine logistics. Okay, part 3, leveraging your specific degree. Let's talk about you. Depending on your exact education level in Nigeria, you're going to have very distinct target zones. If you're holding an ND or HND, your sweet spot should be those critical, hands-on roles. Think technicians, maintenance, and logistics. What employers want to see from you is hard, hands-on competence, and absolutely strict safety behavior. Now, on the flip side, if you've got a BSc or BNG, you want to target graduate trainee programs or commercial roles. Your proof? You need strong internships, a really clear final year project, and serious familiarity with tools like Excel or Power BI. But wait, what if you're already pursuing an MSc or a PGD? Well, use it strategically. Think of postgraduate study as a specialized tool to either dive way deeper into a high-demand niche, like process safety, AI, or subsea engineering, or to successfully pivot from a completely different background. But here's the catch. A master's degree really only pulls its weight when you pair it up with a solid portfolio of projects and real, tangible industry exposure. Which brings us perfectly to part 4, gaining that all-important entry-level experience. All right, here is your physical actionable checklist. Step 1. Treat your SIWS or industrial training as a literal professional audition. Keep an obsessive logbook of your tasks and always ask for a reference letter before you leave. Step 2. Be super strategic about your NYC year. Actively aim for a primary assignment at an energy company, a regulator, an engineering firm, or a lab to get that heavy operations-focused exposure. And step 3, grab some specific value-adding certifications. Having iOS or NABOSH for safety tracks, CAPM for project management, or Power BI for data will make your CV pop immediately. Because honestly, at the end of the day, regardless of your degree title, the certs you hold, or where you land in the value chain, employers are hiring you to solve fundamental business problems. The core expectation across the board is that you're going to step in and help them operate safely, slash their downtime, control costs, hit quality standards, and work smoothly with local communities and regulators. That is the bottom line. So I'm going to leave you with this final, empowering thought to wrap up today's explainer. You have to stop boxing yourself in based just on what's printed on your diploma. The industry has a place for you if you can prove your worth. Try shifting your mindset entirely from what is my degree to what specific problem do I want to solve in this industry. Look at this massive interconnected small city of oil and gas we just walked through. What problem are you going to choose to solve?
Welcome to the quiz section, Fastest Finger Edition. Fastest Finger Edition.
Hey there, and welcome to this explainer. Go ahead, grab a coffee, pull up a chair, and let's just get right into it. If you're a fresh graduate stepping out of the academic bubble and looking at your very first real career jump, consider this session your ultimate mentor coffee chat. Listen, you spent years mastering the textbooks, and seriously, you should be incredibly proud of that. But crossing the threshold from the classroom to the professional world, especially in high-stakes, complex industries, well, it requires a completely different playbook. Today, we're going to bridge that gap together. We are taking all the guesswork out of what hiring managers are actually looking for and building you a practical, totally stress-free strategy to launch your career. So here's our structured, no-nonsense game plan for today's explainer. First, we'll look at grades versus real skills. Second, we'll unpack your core professional toolkit. Third, we'll build out your 90-day action plan. And finally, we'll cover safety, which is truly your first professional language. All right, let's jump to section 1, grades versus real skills. Time for a little reality check. Okay, let's really dive into this. It's time to validate all those brutal late nights in the library, while also pivoting to the empowering truth of industry expectations. Grades can open doors, but skills keep you there. Your degree is fantastic. It proves you've got the baseline intellect and the discipline to actually finish what you started. It got you the interview. But once you're through that door, the rules totally change. You see, employers aren't really checking your GPA anymore. They're looking for something much more dynamic. They're looking for people who can learn incredibly quickly on the fly, who meticulously follow industry standards, who communicate clearly across totally different teams, and who can work safely under pressure. And the absolute best time to start building these habits? It isn't on your first day of work. It's right now, before you even land that first job.
Moving right along to Section 2, your core professional toolkit. Let's demystify these expectations. Now, in school, your mindset was heavily focused on academic theory, right? Things like thermodynamics, intricate circuit design, or fluid mechanics. You needed a strong grasp of technical fundamentals in your discipline, and you definitely still do. But out in the real world, your daily life is heavily governed by data literacy. The absolute professional necessity right now is rigorous data management. Hiring managers need you to have advanced Excel skills, an understanding of basic statistics, the ability to build readable dashboards, and a high level of comfort with data cleaning. Sure, you might know the theory of a fluid pump backwards and forwards, but can you clean a messy data set to figure out exactly why it failed last Tuesday? That's the real-world application.
Beyond the data, your toolkit needs 4 absolutely crucial components. First up, clear writing. And hey, I'm not talking about 20-page academic essays here. I mean crisp emails, concise shift handover notes, and incredibly accurate incident reports. Second, problem solving. You've got to move beyond just spotting a problem to understanding the root causes using structured troubleshooting frameworks. Think the 5 whys or a fishbone diagram. Third, project skills. This means estimating, planning, holding yourself to strict meeting discipline, and actively thinking about risk. And finally, commercial awareness. Actually, I want to emphasize this because this is huge for fresh grads. You have to understand how your specific, everyday work impacts cost, downtime, and the overall value of production. Mastering these, it makes you undeniably employable.
Okay, Section 3, the 90-day action plan. Taking things from theory to practice.
So how do we actually pull this off? This right here is your immediate playbook. We're going to use the power of 3 to build you a solid portfolio without, totally overwhelming you. Step 1, choose one technical tool to master. Maybe it's advanced Excel, maybe it's some new dashboarding software. Step 2, choose one communication habit. For example, practice writing 1-paragraph technical summaries of complex articles. Step 3, choose one industry topic to study consistently. Picture these 3 things and focus your energy solely on them for the next 90 days. Doing this gives you a tangible project or model you can actually show off in an interview.
I really want you to burn this phrase into your memory. Consistency beats intensity. Seriously, when you were a student, you probably pulled a frantic all-nighter to cram for a fluid mechanics final. And sure, that intensity works for passing a test, but it utterly fails for career building. Spending just 20 minutes every single day practicing data cleaning or reading an industry report is vastly superior to trying to learn everything in a frantic 10-hour weekend binge. Steady, focused daily progression, that is the hallmark of a true professional.
Which brings us to our final section, Section 4, safety. This is your professional language, and it's completely non-negotiable. Look, in complex, high-stakes environments like oil and gas, manufacturing, or heavy engineering, safety is not just some HR compliance checkbox. It is the non-negotiable indicator of your professional maturity. Let's formally define one of the most critical concepts you'll ever encounter: stop work authority. This is the explicit expectation that you will pause work you believe is unsafe and escalate the issue. In industries handling high pressures, flammable materials, and heavy equipment, this isn't just a friendly suggestion. It is an absolute mandate. If you see something wrong, you own the responsibility to stop it. That level of accountability is exactly what employers demand from day one.
Now, what's really interesting about this is how we can translate abstract safety concepts into everyday applications. Procedures aren't just annoying paperwork. They're the work permits and risk assessments that physically control hazards. A learning culture means active near-miss reporting, so we learn from failures instead of just hiding them, preventing repeat incidents down the line. And fitness for duty, that's about your personal professionalism, getting proper rest, maintaining sharp attention, and taking care of yourself, especially if you're transitioning into grueling shift work. Mastering this basic risk assessment language protects people, it protects company assets, and it protects the environment. And this brilliantly illustrates how your early reputation won't be built on some stroke of pure technical brilliance. It's going to be shaped by small, everyday actions. Simply wearing the correct personal protective equipment, or PPE, without someone having to remind you. Asking clarifying questions before you touch a valve or write a line of code. Strictly following lockout/tagout rules, like physically locking out power to a machine before you fix it. And having the confidence to speak up respectfully when something seems off. These habits signal deep professional maturity. They prove that you are reliable. All right, so we've covered the gap between grades and skills, we've unpacked your essential toolkit, mapped out your 90-day plan, and elevated safety as your core professional language. So I want to leave you with this direct challenge.
Which 3 skills will you build in the next 90 days? And exactly how will you prove them? Will you have a dashboard, a project report, or a model to show your future employer? The playbook is entirely in your hands now. Take ownership of those skills and stay consistent. The industry is waiting for you. Go make yourself undeniably employable. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and I'll catch you next time.
Welcome to the quiz section, Fastest Finger Edition. Fastest Finger Edition.
Welcome, everyone. I am